Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
Yeah, this tweet goes on. True the Vote now admits it has no such evidence exists. The MAGA movement is a fascist con job. You have to wonder how many of that base are starting to, like how many fundraising emails can you get before at some point you go, hang on. I mean, Lara Trump just admitted if she's in charge of the RNC, all the money's going to Trump.
Yep.
Like they're telling you that they're a family full of grifters, right? This is, all going to elect Donald Trump. Well, none of the money that went to stopping the steal went to stopping what was no steal was not a steal, right?
And they didn't, and the money wasn't used for the wall. And, at this point, if you're getting an email asking for money for a conservative interest group or Trump or candidate, you might as well expect that whatever they're saying they're going to use it for just isn't going to happen.
It'd be Trump's legal fees, right?
$50 million was an estimate that I saw from one super PAC, and that's just one super PAC. So, what are those people who are donating to those super PACs, right? They have super PACs so that they can accept giant contributions. What are they getting in those, the people that are contributing to that $50 million in legal fees? What are they going to get in return if Trump's elected?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, some of that hardcore base, I guess you're never gonna. The people that, I'm sorry, did I get it incorrect? They cut their balls off, not their,
castration.
The berries, not the twig.
Yes, they cut the balls off.
Some of them are believers right to the end. Yeah. Heaven's Gate people.
Heaven's Gate.
Yes, yeah. Some cults are right. Some people drink the orange Kool-Aid and it's too late. Here's one political gift I think we're not going to get. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Clay Higgins have been named as Mayorkas impeachment managers. Also Andy Biggs, who also belongs in prison for insurrection. But okay. And Higgins was last seen posting a threat to Judge Engoron right before the Super Bowl using a depiction of a hitman from The Godfather. So that guy and Marjorie Taylor Greene, he would be the class act part of that whole duo. Of course, it seems a likely scenario is that Senator Schumer calls an immediate motion to dismiss the impeachment case with an up and down vote before there's any trial. It seems clear Mitch McConnell and Senate Republican leadership want no part of this clown show and won't put up much of a fight.
I want to see Marjorie run it, though.
Yes,
I really
there's
do.
part of me that you're like, oh God, this would be the biggest clown show ever.
I know.
She can hardly manage to get out a sentence, let alone manage an entire impeachment.
But it's just, oh my God, they've been so exposed as to just what a clown car they are, right? I mean, they're impeaching him over.
This is all they can point
to. If they
to.
hadn't, they're counting on our short-term memory. Last week, you just voted down the border security bill that, to give him the tools that now you're impeaching him for. It'd be different if, it was even like a year ago. You're like, you just did it.
They've had the majority for a year and 2 months, and the only thing they've done is this.
Yeah.
And it's going to go down in flames in the Senate. So, when people ask their members of Congress, what have you done for me lately? This is it. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, we can, what's his name? The putt-putt. Chip Roy.
Chip Roy.
He's given us very helpful campaign ads, hasn't he? About Republicans have done nothing. I'm like, yep. Just between him and Nikki Haley, we're pretty much done for 2024. We can save our cash for 28. Lindsey Graham, I don't even know what to say. So he voted against a foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan after previously suggesting the Biden administration needed to do more to help Ukraine. You can't write this stuff. Uh-huh. He went on to suggest that the supplemental aid package should be a loan to the countries in question. Well, that's a new demand, really.
It's remarkably Trumpian.
Yes.
And I was wondering how long it would take for Lindsey Graham to return to Lindsey, who will do everything in fealty to Donald Trump. He had a couple of years there where he seemed to be doing what he normally does, and now it's back to what he was when Trump was president.
Yeah, the ball gag has gone back in. Is it me, or is that kind of a BFD? Is in your former role as campaign strategist, what just happened in New York? Somebody tweeted, actually CNN, Joe Biden has been defeating Donald Trump over the course of the last 2.5 years. Every single special election, every single ballot initiative, Democrats are overperforming. And we did it again in New York, and yet the storyline persists. Oh, can Biden win? Oh, Democrats scared. Oh, Biden's old. It's
well, and here's what's difficult about it. It's hard to measure this, right? So you really do have to go all in to win, even though there is highly likely to be an overperformance of base Democrats in every election, for the foreseeable future. Even here in Virginia, when we had our election in 2023, Democratic candidates up and down the state performed better than I think was expected. And so you have these special elections all over the country. You have the 2022 election where Republicans were supposed to do much better.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, one has to, factor that in when talking about these polls. Instead, what we're treated to is, delirious reporting whenever Trump is doing better in the polls than he was the week before. And, woe is me defeatism around Biden.
Thank you.
Even, unless he's doing better in the polls, in which case they don't talk about it.
He's the only one that has beaten Trump,
Right.
by 7 million votes. I mean, talk about how much the Republicans would love if we got rid of our hugely successful incumbent president in an election year.
Right.
That's exactly what they're hoping we'll do, right?
Yes, although I do think that there's probably part of them that can't wait for Joe Biden to beat Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They would never say it out loud.
Cowards.
But they would love to be done with Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the pathetic thing, is they're counting once again on us to save them from this monster they've unleashed on America.
Right. Meanwhile, in public, it's how many times can they kiss the ring?
Yeah. By the way, Carl, we always talk about when we ever a shared set of facts, on anything, elections, COVID. I just thought Newsmax had a tweet. A conservative group has told a Georgia judge it doesn't have evidence to support its claims of illegal ballot stuffing during the 2020 general election and runoff 2 months later. Ron tweeted, the group that Dinesh D'Souza relied upon for his 2000 Mules movie that Trump talks about almost
All the
every
time, yeah.
stop. That was hyped by Trump, was ordered by a judge to produce their evidence under oath in court, and they had nothing. This is what's happening, and it's going to happen with all of Trump's trials now. When it hits the light of day and a courtroom, is not going to survive.
Are we really surprised that the Mules documentary was full of shit? I didn't say it.
You did.
I
I see
did.
what
It was
you did
close.
there. I see what you did.
It's
called,
premeditated.
ironically, it was called True the Vote. Ordered by a judge to turn over evidence of election fraud, it had long claimed to have the right. Because see what they did there? Because they're right. They're truing the vote.
Well, True the Vote has a very extensive track record in election interference. Their big claim to fame is purging election rolls across the country, electing conservative secretaries of state, and then getting them to send postcards out. And if they don't receive a timely response, removing those people from the polls.
Yeah.
Or even worse, matching them against publicly available information and just eliminating people who they think are dead based on a first initial and a last name, never matching it against social security numbers, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of false positives in every state they do this in, forcing those people to have to re-register to vote.
Yeah. Listen, I would have never gotten to vote then if you could count the number of times Chris thought I was dead and then just, to pull me up off the heating grate. Oh, it's just Chardonnay again. Okay, here, sit down. Put on this shrug. It's time for the show. Carl, the other thing, we'll talk to Dr. Redlener about this, but obviously, you've dealt with COVID in schools forever. When they're ill, the CDC should be recommending that employers give workers paid sick leave, not making it easier for We feel like we've just lost this fight and people are over COVID, but once again, COVID is not over us.
Right.
And I feel like that's just a basic, don't be a hole and get other people sick when you know you're sick. Shouldn't it be like just a rule of decent society? That when I got COVID, I obviously did the show from 3 floors up. I'm like, what kind of hole just goes into work, goes or to crowded places or whatever, right? School.
Well, and it's not just COVID, right? There's any number of things that you want people to be able to get better from and come back to work. In Virginia, we don't have paid family leave, and a bill has passed. I doubt the governor will sign it if it gets to him. But you think about all the different things that can happen to somebody in their life. A sick parent, a sick spouse, a sick kid that they need to take care of, let alone what could happen to them. And for too many people, there are no options other than showing up for work.
But also, it's an inherent selfishness or something, Carl. Like, I just feel like we've somehow lost the societal compact, and I don't know how we get it back. Like, where was that, Jody? There's a place where parents won't vaccinate for measles, so
Right.
the kids got the measles, and they sent them to school anyway.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Right.
Where is the we in our society anymore? That you give a flying about other people's kids?
I don't know that you can get that back until the people who have taken it from us are no longer in power.
Yeah.
And no longer pursuing power, right? The cruelty is the point has all kinds, the cruelty is the point has all kinds of, ripple effects to it. And it's not just being mean with your rhetoric or being mean for the sake of being mean. It's mean through policy. It's cruel through everything they do. It has an impact. And that mentality, that ethos is taken over the Republican Party. I think they were cruel before. But at least they tried to hide it.
Yeah, Carl, you're right. Trump didn't create it, but I feel like he has been a huge enabler of people to be just as selfish and self-involved and racist and sexist as he is, and say, homophobic, you name it. Whatever your thing you've always wanted to say out loud, he's just enabled an awfulness I've never seen before in society. And he's everything, as we say every week, everything you ever teach your kids and not to be, right?
Well, and look at mental health professionals all over the country who've said, since Trump became a national political figure, they've seen all kinds of bullying and other, types of hate increase. So the only way this gets better is if it's turned back entirely. And as we always say, you can't do that unless you're active and unless you really step up in this election.
And you have adults bullying kids. We just did the story of where was this? The woman, Republican, I don't know if it was a school board member, whatever, but, targeted this, she's just what do you call
the
it?
athlete?
Yeah, she's a woman, she's a straight, or no, excuse me.
She's cis.
She's right. Mm-hmm. She's not trans. Anyway,
Right.
She outed her as trans because she looks in her, right? And so she needed police protection. This kid, because, she gets targeted by this Republican woman, and her parents are like, she's not trans. She's just, she's a boy. She's a tomboy. I mean, but this is where you have adults targeting children.
Right.
Anyway.
Because they really don't see a separation anymore. Their only passion in life is making people making liberals and good-minded people uncomfortable, hurting people's feelings, making sure that nobody's capable of living their life in a way that is not aligned with them, and that's what they will legislate if given the opportunity.
Yeah,
we're seeing it in conservative states already.
The only way to fight back. mooksforcarl.com.
That's right.
mooksforcarl.com.
That's right.
And of course,
That's right.
sexyliberal.com.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Love you, Carl. See you next week.
Thanks.